From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MBW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something that you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
Welcome to this Tuesday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal McCready, Clark Ford Studio. Well, at least one of us. We're going remote today. Shouldn't affect your listening capability at all. Connection's pretty good, so we'll get through today's podcast. The Oxford Exxon brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford. Go in, get a daiquiri if you would so like. They've got 6-8 flavors, a lot of different options for you from a daiquiri standpoint. As big as 44 ounces, as cheap as $3.99 for the smallest one there. Go in, get the plate lunch specials every single day that are $4.99, the ribs at night. A lot of things to save money and get your fill with the Oxford Exxon. Again, coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, 662-257-1900. Call that number, ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what new Ford you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's that simple. It's right to the bottom line. It's no hassle, no haggle. That's part of the efficiency of it all. You get your quote, and you take care of the rest. You decide whether you want to shop it around, which is certainly your prerogative. You're going to end up coming right back to Corey. It's right to the bottom line. You're going to get a great deal on a great Ford product, great service after the sale. Corey wants to be your car guy. He wants to be your truck guy. He'll prove it to you. And we'll make it even better. Tell him that you heard about Clark Ford on the podcast, any of our family of podcasts, and you'll save $500 off the already great bottom line at Clark Ford in Amory. Today is sort of my fault because full disclosure, Carson's got a orthodontist appointment at 10 o'clock, so I've got to go to his school and check him out and get him there and then get him back to school. So setting up the studio and all of that stuff was going to make it a major time crunch. So pin this one on me.
I guess you survived the tornado that come through. Anything come through you guys' area last night?
No, we had some wind, and the sirens went off a lot, so you were kind of on edge. But no, I mean, we never had any reaction to it. Carson and I sat in here and watched NBA games, and when the sirens went off, I kind of paid attention. Laura was in the living room. I think she was watching it closer than I was. I figured if it was something bad, somebody would say, "Hey, let's move." We had a plan, but we never had to execute the plan. Did you get anything?
No, I fortunately, my wife is scared to death of the weather. It does not impact me in the slightest. It probably to a fool's standpoint, honestly, because I just don't even, my heart rate never increases no matter how bad it gets. And thankfully, last night I did not have to put my shoes on and go to any certain area. We avoided that. We had a small back and forth at one point where she was discussing it. But I was watching the National Weather Service. I was looking at the maps, and our exact location was never actually even in the kind of the tornado warning path. It hit Lafayette County. It hit, the Oxford area was in a tornado warning, but it was just north or just south of us at all times. So I was able to keep my normal routine and not get impacted by that last night. It was kind of nice. I was poor Russell Johnson. I think he spent about 8 hours in his bathtub last night. The Ohio people that make fun of the snow, but they get a little pop-up shower, they get a little wind, and suddenly they're hunkered down for a day and a half.
The sirens are disconcerting, and I'm not complaining about the sirens. I'm in favor of sirens.
Yeah.
Blow the sirens. Blow them as long as you got to blow them. If there's a hurricane if there's a tornado in the county, blow the sirens. I'm good. Other than that, it was kind of a normal night. We were watching Rockets and Pacers, Thunder and Pelicans. We were just kind of flipping. We were cool. I was watching it, but I wasn't obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Carson was on an Instagram story with a bunch of boys his age, and he was laughing about that. Some of them were in closets and bathtubs and stuff. Maybe we did not take it seriously enough. But Campbell at about 5 o'clock yesterday, I did the Gary Parrish show. And during one of the commercial breaks, I came in there and she was watching it. And she said, "We're not going to get anything. It's going to be fine." And for whatever reason, I decided I would just take the word of a 17-year-old girl. And I quit worrying about it at that point.
There's a lot of standard behavior for a lot of things that can happen, but humans do really go so far both directions on the scale of being bothered by storms. And a lot of people, had they actually been impacted by one in the past. I have been fortunate enough to not, so it does not raise my blood pressure the same way someone who has been through one. But you'll get a really varying scale there, and it can create some arguments in the household on how far to go to protect yourself, depending on the severity of the storm.
Well, some people, and this is not meant as a criticism of anybody, but some people like to freak out. Some people enjoy drama. They enjoy freaking out. I mean, we have a plan. We all go to the guest bath in the hallway, right? It's this most secure place in the house. We had to do it. We've been here a year, I guess, when that tornado came through our neighborhood. So we've done it before. So we have a plan. And if it gets to that place, we go there. Our next door neighbor has one of those shelters in her garage. If it gets really bad, we go there. We've done that before. So we had plans in place, and the hours and hours and hours of fretting about it leading up to it, I never quite understand that, because there's nothing you can do. I mean, you can't go outside and, I hate to say this in today's political climate, but you can't go outside and build a wall. I mean, if it's coming to get you, it's coming to get you.
You trying to be all Freudian on voting day? Is that what you're doing?
No, you know what? I'll give you my voting philosophy. It's complete. I've learned that it's completely politically incorrect to say what I'm about to say.
All right.
If you want to vote today, vote. If you don't want to vote today, don't vote. If strangers on Facebook and Twitter are impacting your vote, you probably don't really have much of a conviction about your vote. If you're convicted about your vote and you want to get out and campaign for your candidate, whoever your candidate may be, great, go for it. I'm cool with all that. I do not get worked up on election day. I don't get worked up about all the stuff. I do get a little annoyed with everyone putting hashtag vote on everything. People are going to vote if they want to vote, and they're not going to vote if they don't want to vote.
I would like to see overall voting rates be a little higher, but yeah, independently, whatever. Your call.
Yeah, I don't care whether they go up or not. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, if you have a conviction and you choose to go to the polls to vote for whoever your candidate may be, whatever party he or she may be affiliated with, or if you're going to the polls to vote against someone or to make a statement, great. Awesome. That is your right. And go do it.
My only caveat is I do get annoyed by the person that has very, very strong political views constantly in my face and then doesn't vote.
Yeah.
That person bothers me.
I don't meet that person, though. I don't ever run into that person.
And it's more of a social media thing, honestly, than anything else. But
yeah, I don't know. In the last 15 years or so, I just don't really discuss politics much. And my political views have become so centrist that I'm not very easily offended by either party. And so I don't have real strong opinions. And honestly, the race tonight that I'm most interested in is one that I can't vote in. I've been fascinated by some of the campaign poll, the ads and such that have come out of the Tennessee Senate race.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This Marsha Blackburn and Phil Bredesen campaign, those two people have gone at each other's throats.
Yeah, I always get comedy out of like Action News 5, just in general. Like that's what I get. I don't get the Tupelo channels. I get all Memphis channels. So
yeah, I do.
I get a lot of news. I watch some Tiger sports stuff occasionally, but it has this political season, especially last night, as it was night before, it was just nonstop. They're just killing each other all night long. And I mean, I almost
can't get away from Phil Bredesen and Marsha Blackburn. You can't get away from them. And so I can't vote in that election, but I'll tell you this tonight, I'm glued into the results on that thing. And I I don't really care. I actually asked myself last night, I said, who would I vote for out of those two? Because I don't like either one of them.
I have no idea if they had one, didn't have one, or whatever, but I wish I had seen a debate between the two because I would have popped some popcorn and sat down for it. I'll be honest. I would have been in.
I would have, too. I would have absolutely been in.
No impact on me whatsoever, but sure.
So the one race that I'm really interested in, I can't vote. Yeah. And I don't know who I would vote for if I could. You're right. I'm going to search and see if they had a debate. And if they did, I'm going to watch that puppy today. I'm going to take 30 minutes out of my day and watch that debate because those two people genuinely hate one another. And
you think so? You don't think it's just rhetoric?
I think it started as rhetoric. But the rhetoric in their advertising has gotten so strong and just kind of nasty.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I would venture to guess that by now the two people don't like each other.
That's fair, and that probably happens a lot, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, their staffs truly hate each other.
Yeah.
That's the one that's been fascinating to me.
Yeah.
For months now.
All right, so we got off air yesterday, and as soon as we got off, I kind of got some more information on what was going on with some of the topics with buyouts and coaches and whatnot. And we did get clarification on the McGriff thing from yesterday, as we were talking about. We had just gotten off air when I got the clarification. So if McGriff gets another job, if he gets a head coaching job, there is no buyout from him back to Ole Miss. If he leaves for another assistant job, he would owe Ole Miss either $250,000 or 25% of his remaining salary, which is lower, which would be $250,000 this year. If Ole Miss fires him without cause, and just getting this out of the way because it does confuse some people, cause is not anything to do with performance on the field. So no matter how bad it looks like, that's not with cause. That would still be without cause. He gets 100% of his remaining salary until he gets another position. And then when he gets another position, that whatever that salary is minus from that 100% remaining salary. McGriff, after this season, will have 2 years left at around $1 million a year. So give or take $2 million total dollars. And it's not some lump sum thing unless that's a settlement, which does happen sometimes. I think it might have happened with Dan Werner. But otherwise, they would just pay it out almost like a normal salary over the 12 or 24 months or whatever. He would just still get a monthly check in whatever amount that would be. So that's kind of where his buyout is. Also, this is pretty subjective. Les Miles, kind of been a running joke with him in the past. They have to try to get employment. They have to document their efforts to get employment. You can't just completely sit on the couch and not try to get another job and just collect the buyout. But that's kind of where that is. All the assistant salaries are structured pretty much that same way. Neil and I tabulated this on the site yesterday. You can discuss it at rebelgrove.com if you would like. The thread has gotten pretty lengthy by this point. But nonetheless, here's just the quick numbers. If Ole Miss lets these people go at the end of the season, again, minus other jobs' salary, just contractually, here's what the buyouts are. Jack Bicknell, $0. Charles Clark, $350,000. Maurice Harris, $0. Jason Jones, $400,000. Phil Longo, $700,000. We talked about McGriff. Derek Nix, $0. Jacob Peeler, $0. Freddie Roach, $1 million, give or take. That's 2 years left at around $500,000 per. And then John Summerall, $350,000 for his salary for one more season. He's on a 2-year deal. So those are the numbers. Just kind of an early look at that. Obviously, Neil will pay much more attention as we get a lot closer to Thanksgiving night and the days following that.
Yeah, I'm obviously, it's the story what's today? Today's the 6th. Happy birthday to my brother Tim. 16 days until the season's over, and it's going to be the topic of conversation on day 17 and beyond. I get asked all the time. I know you get asked all the time. How many changes? I don't know. Do you expect changes? I do. Do you expect sweeping changes? I don't know.
And some of that's relative depending on what you would classify as sweeping.
Yeah, I think when people say sweeping, they mean both coordinators. And I don't, if you made me guess today, and it's just a guess, and I'll qualify it with something after this. Today, I would guess no, I don't think both coordinators are gone. Now, as we see on game days, games elicit emotion. Emotion affects change. Positively, negatively, it just does. This isn't a criticism of Matt Luke or of Jeffrey Vitter or the hiring process. But it's my opinion that had Ole Miss not defeated Mississippi State last year in Oxford, that Matt Luke would not be the head coach at Ole Miss today. Now, that's just an opinion. I could be wrong. It's an opinion. The emotion of that game, in my opinion, impacted Jeffrey Vitter in a way that he affected change. So moving forward, let's do both scenarios. Let's say that this football team people are kind of down on this team right now after losing to Auburn and losing to South Carolina. Let's say this team goes to College Station and wins, goes to Vanderbilt and wins. Well, the mood's going to change in the next 10 or 11 days if that happened. And then let's say, just for the sake of this hypothetical, that Ole Miss lined up and went head to head with Mississippi State in a just slobber knocker of a football game, and Luke Logan makes a 38-yard field goal to win the game at the buzzer, and Ole Miss runs around on the field with the big egg, and Matt Luke has another seminal moment as head coach, and there's going to be less pressure, less call for change in that scenario. Take the other scenario. People are down on this football team. They just lost to Auburn. They just lost to South Carolina. They blew a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter to lose to South Carolina, and people are not particularly happy. Let's say they go to A&M. They're a 12-point underdog. Let's say they lose to A&M by the spread. They lose by 12. They go to Vanderbilt in a week and a half, and they play a Vanderbilt team that is much better at home than it is on the road. And let's say Vanderbilt wins by a touchdown. And then they go to back to Oxford on Thanksgiving night, and they play Mississippi State. And let's say Mississippi State does to Ole Miss what a lot of people think Mississippi State's going to do to Ole Miss, and that's just run it down their throat. And it's kind of one of those physical mauling sort of games where your weaknesses really get exposed, and Ole Miss loses by 14 points. There's your scenario. I'm not making predictions. That's just your hypothetical. In that scenario, the pressure from the public to make change might be so strong that Matt Luke and the people around them have no choice but to make change. And that's why some of the decisions that might be leaning to one way or the other, or made one way or the other right now, could change in 16 days.
Yeah. Also, we get asked this a lot, and I mean, it's been talked about, but we haven't necessarily faced it head on. Everybody talks about, staff changes and whatnot. We spent so much time on yesterday's podcast discussing Matt Luke not having the traditional reset that normally comes with a head coach. That was Matt's decision. He made the decision in the interview process when he was hired to hold on to the staff, to keep continuity, and to get a recruiting class together as good as possible, to try to keep the roster together as good as possible, and essentially try to put a season together in 2018 before kind of reevaluating and resetting from that point. So now we're at that reset point, but that was not something that Ross Bjork forced on Matt Luke, that Jeffrey Vitter forced on Matt Luke. That was Matt's decision and what at the time he felt was best for the program. So just kind of pointing that out as we move forward.
And I think that's a good conspiracy theory to knock down. I mean, I do. Yeah. I think that's something that as we move forward into this coming off season is important to note. I don't believe. I've said this. I don't believe Matt Luke knew he was going to be the Ole Miss coach until he became the Ole Miss coach. I think his plan was necessitated by, if you go back and remember the way that he motivated a year ago, year one of a bowl ban, Hugh Freeze fired in late July, right before they started camp. I think Matt Luke's strategy motivationally last year was proved to be a great one, which was, hey, all we have is each other, and all we have is this time. And our time could very well be finite. And so let's rally around one another. And I think I've been told this. I don't know that it's true. Matt didn't tell me this, but I've heard this from people who are close to him, that he viewed a lot of change as sending a message to the kids that played for him that would be contradictory to the message that he had manufactured over the course of the season, which was, we're all in this together. We all stand up for one another. We all achieve this together. And to then immediately go and make sweeping change on your coaching staff would have, in his view, from what I've been told, would have looked hypocritical.
Right. We'll continue that conversation in 1 second. First, tell you Christmas is right around the corner, and Master Cuts wants to keep your home looking up to par through the holiday season. They offer a variety of outdoor Christmas decorations that will transform your house into a festive staple of the neighborhood. Everything from lighting and garland to inflatable characters. Whatever your vision may be, they'll help you out with a custom display unique to your home. And the best part is all the decorations you get, you'll own them. They'll keep and store them until the next holiday season, or you can store them yourself. That option is yours. So get a free quote and cherish these memories for years to come. 662-607-7773.
Megan Phillips with LAH Real Estate is the person to call for all your real estate needs in the Birmingham area. With almost a decade of experience, Megan's knowledge and expertise can help you buy or sell your home today. So visit her website, meganmphillips.com. That's MEAGANMphillips.com. Or call Megan at 205-602-7929. Podcast also brought to you by Oxford University Bank, OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB is offering 1-year CDs at 1.75% annual percentage yield, 3-year triple option CDs paying 2.01% APY. With the 3-year term, customers can deposit once during the term, withdraw once during the term, and or bump the rate if OUB's 3-year rate rises. To learn more about OUB, check out liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured. Podcast also brought to you by Harry Alexander. Harry is an Oxford-based RE/MAX legacy realty agent. He's been in Oxford more than 4 decades. No one knows the residential and condo market in Oxford better than Harry. Go to his site. He'll prove it to you. It's harryalexander.com. Click on the Properties and Neighborhoods tab. Filter through by what you are looking for, what you're interested in. The results that you see are updated daily. That's truly what is on the market. And then after that, send him an email. He'll take care of the rest. It's ha@harryalexander.com. And don't forget, this weekend, Ole Miss Athletics, there's a lot going on. You can see Kermit Davis and the Rebels this season for just $199 with the new Ole Miss Hoops Rebel Flex Pass. For just $199, you'll receive a ticket to all 16 home games. Visit OleMissTix.com to purchase. And don't miss a minute of the action this year at the Pavilion with Coach Yo and the women's hoops team. Get your tickets today for just $50. Tickets can be purchased by visiting OleMissTix.com. The women's team begins its season tonight at the Pavilion at 6 as they take on Norfolk State, I should say, not Norfolk Steak. That would be like weird. OleMissTix.com to get your tickets. And then the men open Saturday at 3 p.m. So you can watch the Ole Miss Texas A&M game at 11. Head to the Pavilion. You can see that game at 3 versus Western Michigan. It's Military Appreciation Day. All veterans and current military personnel will receive free admission and tickets for the general public. They start at $10. Visit OleMissTix.com to purchase.
Also, remember to get your flu shot with G&M Pharmacy on South Lamar in Oxford. If you have a major insurance provider, it is free, if not $25. So stop in. Walk-ins welcome there at G&M Pharmacy on South Lamar to get that flu shot. And if you use them for all your pharmacy needs, they deliver local in the Oxford area. That's G&M Pharmacy. Good segue, talking about basketball there a little bit, because you and I never discussed this. You, on Friday, posted the kind of game-by-game projections for Ole Miss, what they were looking for this season out of year one with Kermit Davis. And there's some opportunities in the non-league. It's a rigorous SEC schedule because the league is so good. It's kind of like football, and fans are going to get tired of this, but a lot of what year one isn't necessarily the scoreboard, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not really about the scoreboard at all. Now I don't think that's the way Kermit Davis views it. At least that's not the way that he views it publicly. But it's about the way they play. It's about establishing an identity defensively. It's about establishing an offensive system. It's about incorporating two really good young players. And I know there's more players, but there's two that are really good. KJ Buffin and Blake Henson are potentially all SEC caliber players. Not now, not this year, but in year three, maybe year two, year three. So it's about that. It's about recruiting. It's about identity. It's about playing with passion and playing hard and all of those things. It's about learning how to be coached differently. He's going to coach hard. Not that Andy didn't coach hard, because Andy coached hard, but Kermit coaches hard, and it's different. So, yeah, it's those things. I mean, I don't want to get into, like, battles, but I think the people who are saying this is an NCAA tournament team are not being fair to the team itself. I don't think they're being fair to the program. For this team to make the NCAA tournament, it's going to have significant help outside of significant luck is probably the better word. I mean, they're going to have to catch a bunch of teams on their worst day, maybe some injuries. They'll have to play above their heads. They'll have to get high-level contributions from players who have not shown signs that they can contribute at a high level consistently. It's a lot to ask. And then people talk about the NIT, and Chase, NIT bids are hard to get.
Yeah,
NIT bids are hard to come by. That is no longer the tournament that it used to be.
The rule changed a couple years ago that guarantees NIT bids to regular season conference champions that do not win their conference tournaments have taken tons of bids away from that tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, look, I don't think this is a postseason team. I hope I'm wrong. Let me get this out of the way. I hope I'm wrong. I like basketball. I love the NCAA tournament. It's great. It's fun to cover. It's cool. I like it. And the only way I get to go, unless Yahoo/Oath/whoever owns us gives me a call and says, hey, we want you to go to some regional and cover it, which has never happened in 10 years. So the odds are it's not going to happen now. The only way I get to go is if Ole Miss goes. So I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think this is a tournament team. But I don't think making the tournament is the way that this team will be judged, or it should be judged. I think this team should be judged by the way it plays, the identity that it creates, the way that it recruits, and then moving forward. They've got talented kids coming in. They're still waiting on Chandler Lawson. They've got the beginnings of two real big chances in the 2020 class. It is a rebuild. As much as people don't want to use the word rebuild, it is one. And so it's establishing identity and all of those things. There's a lot to it. So he's got a big job in front of him. I think they're off to a great start. If you're an Ole Miss fan, you probably liked what you saw on Friday night against Fayetteville State. Now look, Fayetteville State was slow, small, and not particularly athletic. So judging what they did against Fayetteville State as a gauge, as a litmus test, is a mistake. But if you watched the way the ball moved, if you watched the way that they defended most of the time, if you watched the way that they got on the ground, the way that they got on the court, the way that they competed, the way that they dove at balls, the way that they played hard, if you judge by body language, it was a good night. There was a lot of positive things. So, going into the opener, they're interesting. It's if you're an Ole Miss fan, this is an interesting season. I don't think this is, but if you're doing a tournament or bust mentality on this team, you're sort of setting yourself up for artificial disappointment.
What's funny about this schedule, as I'm kind of looking at it, is a lot of first-year programs under new coaches, a lot of teams that are young, they're kind of rhythm-based where they can get hot, get on a little bit of runs. The non-con is really competitive and doesn't set up for a lot of rhythm because Game 2's at Butler. It's a very difficult game. They played Nichols and immediately had to play Baylor. San Diego is not a bad program. You get ULM, but then that road game at Illinois State's very complicated potentially. I mean, it's just
Illinois
a lot
State's
of stuff
very
there.
good. Yeah, Illinois State's very good.
Yeah.
Middle Tennessee in Nashville will be a challenging game.
That Middle Tennessee, Florida Gulf Coast swing. I mean, it's just kind of it's a really good schedule when I look at it all the way around.
Yeah, and then the way the league schedule works, they've got to make hay early because the end of the schedule is very hard.
And 2 of their first 3 are on the road in league
Yeah,
play.
The league's really good. And their home openers against Auburn, I think.
It is.
And Auburn's really good.
Ranked 11th.
I mean, Auburn's a top 3 team in the SEC. Gary Parrish has Tennessee in the Final Four. I mean, the league's really good. He has Kentucky in the Final Four. I mean, the league's really good.
3 of their first 4 SEC games are against ranked teams going into the year. So
yeah, here's the truth. There's not a bad team.
No.
Teams.
You don't have those programs like the last few years that were just atrocious.
No, and even the teams that aren't super talented, Arkansas, for example, Arkansas has a lottery pick. Missouri just fell off because they lost Jonte Porter. Unfortunately, I hate that for the kid. He's a great kid. Mississippi State's uber talented. Florida's very talented. Vanderbilt has 2 first-round picks. The teams that aren't picked, that don't have that elite talent, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Georgia, they do have veteran players. I mean, Terrence Davis can get hot and beat you. South Carolina's not that far removed from a Final Four. It's just a really tough league. There's no easy game. Alabama's good. There's just no easy game. Tennessee's a very good team. Kentucky's an elite team. Vanderbilt, we talked to. I mean, everybody's good. It's a very tough league. There's no free shot. LSU's got a lottery pick and a very talented roster. It's a very Texas A&M probably going to be a fall off team this year. Yet that's a tough place to go win, and they've got good players and they're not far removed from a deep tournament run. So it's just a very challenging league, and the people who are predicting 12 and 13 wins for Ole Miss, I don't think, and there aren't many of those people, but there are a few, and that's just being a fan, and it's not being fair to that program. There's a lot of work to do to get to that level, and maybe he can do it. I'll say this: if Kermit Davis wins 9 or more SEC games with this roster, 2 things: 1, he should be SEC Coach of the Year, and he probably would be. And 2, look out.
Yeah, because the roster is getting better than that. So
yeah, the roster is going to get better than it is right now. This should be his worst team.
I'd say the other thing is kind of interesting, just looking at this from a secondary ticket standpoint. I'm on ESPN's site for the schedule as we were running through it, and they've got get-in prices and tickets available over on the right-hand side for the secondary market. Other than Ole Miss's home game against Kentucky, which, that's always going to be expensive because Kentucky fans traveling, the most expensive get-in game for Ole Miss is that road date, December 8th against Illinois State. Only 23 tickets available on the secondary market, and the lowest one available is $52 for Ole Miss and Illinois State.
Huh.
That's the game that was scheduled on Twitter. They typically have had a hard time getting power programs into that arena. They'll be lit, as the kids say, for that one.
Oh yeah, there'll be a Big crowd. That's in Normal. How far is Normal from here?
I really don't know. It's an hour south of Chicago. It's basically where the Ulrichs live.
Hey Siri, give me driving directions to Normal, Illinois. We'll find out.
Getting directions to Normal.
She's getting directions to Normal.
Yes.
It's 520 miles, 7 hours and 36 minutes. You go up through St. Louis.
What'd she say?
7 hours, 36 minutes. You go up through, it's 520 miles. You go up through St. Louis and north.
Okay. Fair enough.
You don't veer off as if you're going to Chicago.
Okay. So it's not riding 55 all the way up or anything?
Well, it is riding 55 all the way
to St. Louis, though. Yeah.
When you go to Chicago, you get off of, you veer off around, what is that, Sykeston, and you go up through Illinois.
Okay. Fair enough.
You don't actually go, to go to Chicago from here, the ideal way, you don't go actually through St. Louis.
Okay. Good enough. What was the point of that?
I was just curious how far that was.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I mean, I don't think a lot of Ole Miss fans are going to take the trip. I just think whoever is an Illinois State basketball fan is going to be at that game.
I was actually thinking about whether I would take the trip.
Oh, really?
That's what I was thinking.
Oh, also on the schedule, I don't have it in front of me. Who do they play the next day, win or loss, after the Baylor game?
It's either George Mason or...
It's a better team, right? It's George Mason or someone better.
Or maybe Cincinnati.
Is that right?
I'm not sure. I'm pulling it up right now. I've got it bookmarked.
Ooh, look at you. The Emerald Coast Classic, by the way, is the name of this tournament. Yeah, Cincinnati is in this tournament.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike. Yeah, they'll either play the winner or loser, depending on what they do against Baylor, of Cincinnati and George Mason.
Okay, so a couple of these early games are pre-games in this same tournament. Is that right?
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing Nicholls State and Western Michigan also in this tournament. I have a hard time believing it's just coincidence that all those teams are on Ole Miss's schedule and also going to Destin.
Yeah, I think those teams also go to Destin and play in the other side of the bracket.
Right. It was very similar to Vegas last year when Ole Miss played a couple of the early games and then went to the quote heavyweight bracket or whatever that thing where they had Utah in them.
Yeah.
It was Utah, Rice, and somebody else.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
And by the way that you dismissed the ULM game.
I did dismiss the ULM game. Are they any good at basketball?
You were very dismissive of the Warhawks, and it was hurtful.
Are they any good?
Well, yeah.
I mean, even in the Sun Belt, are they any good?
Yeah, man, they're awesome.
Okay.
They're dominant, what they are.
When's the last time they've been in the NCAA tournament?
I don't know. It's been a year or two.
Or 28?
I mean, who's counting?
Yeah, good enough.
I don't know why everything with you is about results. Everything with you is about the end. A lot of times, the joy in life is about the process.
Nick Saban would agree with you. Results really irrelevant.
Yeah, and so so much of what you do at ULM, maybe you don't win that game, maybe you don't win that tournament.
But if you win at life,
are you winning at the game of life? The answer is yes. And I don't know how it is in Hatley, for example, but where I come from, that's really all that matters.
They should go get Butch Jones.
To coach their basketball program?
No, their football program.
Yeah, that'd be good.
You like Viator, though.
He's good. He's done a good job.
They're just so slow.
Well, they recruit a little different kind of player.
I know. I'm aware. Just saying. All right. Check them out. Check out the city of Oxford. Visit oxfordms.com. Visit oxfordms.com/events to see the full calendar of events, see what all's going on, including the Big Bad Art Show at the Powerhouse. That started November 2nd. It runs through December 3rd. You got the Scrambled Art Bowl November 5th to November 26th at Uptown Coffee. That's 8 to 5 every single day. November 6th, that's today, the Oxford Community Market is from 3 to 6:30 at the Armory Pavilion. Also on Thursday nights, every single Thursday night, they have Thacker Mountain Radio in front of Off Square Books with guests and different activities there. The Jersey Boys coming to the Ford Center on November 9th, and a Christmas open house at Discount Builders on November 10th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. For that, it is the season for Christmas, apparently. So again, check them out for the full calendar of events at visitoxfordms.com/events.
Podcast also brought to you by Grenada Nissan. Grenada Nissan, located just off Interstate 55 in Grenada, Mississippi. They have a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles. Go in, test drive one today. Tell my friends Gene and Sandy that you heard about Grenada Nissan on the podcast. You'll get Rebel savings on top of the already great deals at Grenada Nissan. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com. Podcast also brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. So I'm going to skip some of the ad talk here and get right to the bottom line. This is how this works. If you're thinking about a trip, maybe you got a holiday trip coming up. Maybe you're planning a spring break trip to Florida, to the Caribbean. Maybe you and a bunch of your guy friends are thinking about a boys trip. You're going to play some golf, whether it's somewhere in the States. Maybe this is the year you're going to go to Scotland, Ireland. Whatever it may be, whatever trip you're planning, do this. Call John. He's with Regency Travel Incorporated. He's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners. Allows him to supply his clients with added values and unique benefits that are simply not available to other travelers. Tell John what your parameters are. Give him a budget. Hey, we want to go for 6 days. We can spend $1,500 per person. Whatever it may be. Give him some parameters. Give him a budget. He'll give you some options. He'll give you options you would not find on the internet because you don't know where to look, and he does. You don't have to live in or near Memphis either to take advantage of the services. You just need a phone and an internet connection. 901-494-3387 or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. I'm working on my mailbag right now. The mailbag is sponsored by the Westin Jackson. Go to the Westin Jackson. It's a great place to stay. It's a phenomenal hotel. It also has Soul Spa. It's the ultimate luxury spa experience in downtown Jackson. Indulge in personalized massages, signature facials, soothing body treatments, and much more on their extensive spa list. It also is a home to Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro. Sip on a creative craft cocktail or enjoy their curated wine list. It's open for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Chef Caden's mission is to connect guests with the community through local partnerships. So gather at Estelle tonight.
So, a couple of different things. First,
Dave,
yeah.
Not to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but ULM, since that loss to Ole Miss, very narrow loss to Ole Miss, a game that just ran out of time. Late in that game, you could feel the momentum really shifting.
When
to
Marcus
the Warhawks.
Green returned that kick or whatever for a touchdown?
Yeah, momentum shifted heavily to the Warhawks, and they simply ran out of time.
True.
Since then, to prove my feeling, I told you at that time, I said, you could feel the Warhawks coming. Sure enough, they've beaten Coastal Carolina, they've beaten Texas State, and they've beaten Georgia Southern. They're now 5-4. They're a win away from bowl eligibility and should get that win Saturday at home against South Alabama.
Yeah, South Al has not been very good.
So, I mean, we're going bowling.
They're 2-7.
Then we get Arkansas State. We get ULA. Man, we might make the playoff at this pace.
He would never get fired ever for going 7-5 every year, would he?
No,
Ever.
of course not.
Like, expectations would not change at all.
No, they would be very happy with 7-5. 7-5 keeps you in the Sun Belt race. It's
all good.
It gives you a chance if like enough Power 5 teams don't qualify, you get to go to one of the bowls. Like the Independence Bowl would maybe reluctantly take them if it worked out that way.
Okay.
Like on a year like this one, I mean, seriously, let's say Ole Miss goes 6-6, but they're bowl ineligible. You could sort of steal their bowl because you'd be there and you're eligible, and what the hell?
Somebody's got to go.
Exactly.
What I was going to say was, and he's been good there for a while. This is not necessarily new. But from just a quality win standpoint, have you seen what David Cutcliffe's done at Duke this year?
I mean, I could lie to you and tell you I've paid a lot of attention.
I haven't paid a ton. I just stumbled across it last night. But they're 6-3, 2-3 in the ACC, and I get some of these teams have kind of underachieved. But nonetheless, won the opener against Army, which is a decent win now. Army's playing well in their own little brand of football the way they do it. And then he has road wins. This is impressive to me, even no matter what these programs are at the moment. He has road wins at Baylor, Northwestern, Georgia Tech, and Miami. That's pretty good.
No, he's impressive. He's a very good coach.
Found such the perfect fit.
Yes.
He's going to beat North Carolina. They'll get win 7 on Saturday. Lose to Clemson, and then I don't know about Wake Forest. But nonetheless, it's 7 or 8 wins.
8-4, go to a decent bowl game. You entertain the fans long enough to get to the basketball season.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of a felony, I don't think he could get fired there.
No.
And David doesn't strike me as the felony committing sort.
I don't like the chances of Cutcliffe getting a felony. No.
I mean, if you tell me that a major Power 5 coach is going to get arrested on felony charges today, David Cutcliffe may be either my last or next to last guess.
I mean, he's way down the list, isn't he?
I mean, if you put the list as 60 names, roughly?
Yeah, Power 5, yeah.
Yeah, he's somewhere between 59 and 60.
He and Ed aren't next to each other on the list.
No, I'd guess Orgeron before I would guess Cutcliffe.
I mean, even like with, like Muschamp, there could be some road rage or something pop up. I mean, you never know. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, nothing against Will, but, if you told me Will Muschamp was involved in some road rage, I'd say, well, it's regrettable, but I can see it.
Yeah.
I mean, David Cutcliffe strikes me as the guy that even when he was a little kid, he never stole one of those little Bronx caramels from the grocery store. I mean, there's nothing there.
And he looks younger these days. Got the hair dye.
Yeah, he looks good.
Yeah. He's taking care of himself. He's healthier now than he was in 2003.
Oh, for sure.
Other thing here, give Jerry and Ely credit. Story up at rebelgrove.com. The Jackson Prep 2 Sports Star is going to go probably very, very highly in the Major League Draft or in June. Not on anything, in June. He knows how to talk about it. Chad Simmons of Rivals.com asked him about the MLB Draft. Jerry, and with a very politically correct quote, I have to commend him for this. He says, quote, I've not even thought about the MLB Draft yet, to be honest. It's still over 6 months away, and I have to make a college decision first. It will not be easy for me to give up one sport. Right now, I'm making a decision to play football and baseball in college. After that is done, I will worry about the draft later. For me to give up football and the college experience, it'll have to be the perfect fit. I'm still enjoying the high school experience right now. I don't know if I will be on a college campus or a diamond somewhere next year. I'm not even thinking of that right now.
He's been watching Bull Durham.
That's really good.
Learned his cliches.
It's like on Christmas morning, the gag where, like, instead of getting the clothes, they just hand you the money and you hold it up and go, fits perfectly, or it's just my size or whatever. That's what he means by fit, I think, as he moves forward, because he is going to get offered a lot of money here in a few months.
Yeah, and I expect him to take it.
I do too.
I mean, he should.
We're always asked about the whole, hey, college football, why you do this. Kyler Murray kind of did turn it on its head a little bit, but that's an exception. That is not the rule by any means, especially for a kid that's drafted that highly where there's that much money in him. It's one thing, nothing against A.J. Brown, but it's one thing to pay a 19th, 20th round pick, 30th round pick, a little bit of cash and go, yeah, I do football, because it's just a lottery ticket. They don't see a top 10, top 15 pick as a lottery ticket. They need that guy to pan out. So risking him running a football in the SEC is not something that most organizations are going to be okay with.
No. Nor should they.
No, I mean I wouldn't.
I mean,
I wouldn't even think about it as a GM.
what Oakland's doing with Kyler Murray to me is so risky. But maybe when you're the Oakland A's, a risk is something you have to do.
Well, and basically they told him, hey, do it for a year, and it probably was the only bargaining chip to get him, and they just thought he was that much better than whoever else was next on the list. But it's also a different dynamic now, to where as long as you offer a certain amount, you're going to get a pick back. You're not losing in the grand scheme. It's why agents are losing out on some of these deals, and kids are ending up in college all of a sudden. You look at this year with Gunnar Hoagland and JT Ginn and another kid, Carter Stewart. It's because the teams have decided we're going to take some power from these agents. We're going to offer the minimum. We're going to offer enough to get our pick back. And, I mean, they're not worried about the one individual kid. They say, hey, we'll get that pick next year. We'll make up for it. And you can either take our money or you can take your chances in 3 years, and we'll see what happens with you.
Well, that's why I'm really interested to see. It's a totally different deal, but as we get into another season of Major League Baseball free agency, a year ago, ownership sort of stuck it to the agents, and maybe they're going to do it again. I mean, there's 2 or 3 guys that are going to get theirs, but there's going to be a handful of guys that, if they're holding out for these massive contracts, I don't know that they're coming.
It's just created the only few halves from everybody else, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, Harper's going to get his. And Machado presumably will get his. And I suppose Patrick Corbin will get his. But I don't know what the market will be for, say, Andrew Miller, what the market will be for Dallas Keuchel.
Not what it's been in the past.
Yeah, I think, I don't think clubs are just going to throw money at him.
The other thing with Ely, quickly, again, you can read all this at rebelgrove.com, is that he's not signing in December. He's not going to sign until the February signing period. And he's not taking his official visit to Ole Miss on January 25th. As of right now, he does have 4 official visits scheduled. And then the 5th one will be either USC or Tennessee for Ely. The other schools in it really are really Clemson is the one that everybody's kind of watching a little bit. But Alabama, Clemson, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State are his 4 visits other than USC or the Vols. So that's what it is.
How good of a player is he, baseball?
Really, really, really good. I mean, but I want to see him hit a little more, but defensively, he's everything you could want. He's got a good arm, can really, really run. I mean, really run. Gets good jumps. He's kind of he's different than Joe Gray, because Joe Gray is a kid that's going to hit and hit and hit and hit, and you don't know for sure that he can stick in center. He's not an uber athlete. I mean, he runs well, don't get me wrong, but he gets more jumps and he has really good reads versus just great speed in general. Whereas Ely is going to have more great speed and be more dynamic in a combine setting. It's just depending on kind of what else happens with his game. I mean, he's hit well, but if you told me something had to take some time to develop, I would think it would be an offensive standpoint. So he's good though. He's dang good. I mean, you don't get drafted there without having a lot of tools, and then also them believing that from a character standpoint, you're gonna follow through, because you don't want to sign a kid and then that's when you don't get the pick back, is once you've already signed him. You get the pick back before you sign him. So we'll see.
What's your thought about Ole Miss signing him? Should Ole Miss sign him?
Yeah. I wouldn't make him the only running back in the class or anything, but as long as it's not a detriment to anything, yeah. I mean, sure. I mean, again, it's a lot like a major league thing. I mean, it's a lottery ticket. It's a huge lottery ticket for Ole Miss football. You get him, and I mean, this time last year, I didn't think Gunnar Hoagland was going to be at Ole Miss right now. Stuff happens. Teams are more weird about medical reports than ever because, frankly, they're using medical reports as bargaining chips. It doesn't happen as much with position players, so it's not going to be as likely with Ely. But with a lot of pitchers right now, clubs they're not doctoring the MRIs, but they're getting much more fine-toothed about the MRI. Because, look, I was nothing more than an average high school baseball player. I'm going to have stuff in my arm that doesn't look good on an MRI. The kid that throws a lot harder than me and has thrown tons more innings, he's going to have stuff in his arm too, even if he's healthy. I mean, it's kind of what happened with Ty Hensley a little bit, even though he did have tons of injury stuff. They just use that as part of the bargaining deal. Anything they can find to go, hey, we don't know about this. This could be surgery, so I can't give you the full amount. I can't do this. And it's a game that's happened, and you never know if that doesn't happen with something with Ely, whether it be an arm or something else. So, yeah, you sign him because who knows? I mean, the last thing you want to do is go, hey, no, we're going to move on, and then he ends up signing with Clemson, and something goes weird on the medical report, and he's playing for the Tigers next year. You don't need that.
Real quick aside here, congratulations to Matt Mott and the Ole Miss soccer team.
Yep.
When we talked to them yesterday morning, they were still waiting. Matt felt pretty confident. In fact, they were practicing during the press conference.
Okay.
They're heading to Clemson. They'll play in the first round at Clemson. It's the first time in don't hold me to the math here, 15, 16 years or so.
It's like 0203 or 0304. I forget.
Yeah,
which.
something like that. So 15 years, decade and a half, roughly, give or take, that Ole Miss has gone to the NCAA tournament back to back. So congratulations to them. That he's built a really steady, strong program in a really loaded league. People do all the SEC stuff and all that. The SEC soccer's, there aren't many bad programs.
No, everybody's good. I mean, and that's most of those Olympic sports. The SEC is not too bad. Yeah, they've got some history too. They beat Clemson in 15 to make the Sweet 16 in Clemson. I think Clemson was ranked number 7 at the time, and Ole Miss beat them to advance to the Sweet 16 3 years ago. So they do have some history with the Tigers as they move forward. I think that if they win, I think I saw a bracket where they would play the number 1 seed in the bracket, Stanford, or in the region, if you will, next if they get by Clemson. Obviously, if the Cardinal beats whoever they're playing, but I probably like their chances.
Stanford got the 1. Oh, I thought ULM would get the 1. I was surprised. Oh well.
Yeah, academics, quiz bowl, soccer, all the way around.
We'll just have to keep sticking to academics. That's what we do.
Sticking to academics.
Yes, boy.
Your degree was in what, communications?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, marketing, public relations, media relations kind of stuff.
Okay.
I actually have some marketing skill.
Do you know where any of your classmates are? Did any of them do anything substantial?
I couldn't name one of my classmates if you put a gun to my head.
You couldn't name one person you were in your graduate program with?
I could not.
Not one?
Not one.
Seriously?
Totally serious.
Okay.
I actually had an assistantship with in athletics, like tutoring, academic tutoring. This is how checked out I was at times. And I did really well academically at ULM. I really did. I graduated graduate school with like a 3.6. The girl was from Arizona, and I couldn't tell you her name to save my life.
It's probably not good.
Probably not.
Weird, if nothing else.
Yeah, I just kind of took a year and a half, 2 years there, and sort of just did my own thing.
Okay. Moving on. Podcast brought to you in part by Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. A leader in condo financing, all underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. You're getting local underwriting. It understands your market. It's a pretty big deal. Also, the float down options allows you to lock in the current rate. But if rates go down before you close, you get that lower rate. 662-234-2704. Or contact Jason Lowe, J-Lowe, J-L-O-W-E, at communitymtg.com.
Podcast also brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust is based in Madison, Mississippi, but it represents clients in 24 states, has advisors in 3 states. It's founded in 1997, and Pinnacle Trust provides detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. I've told you about how this works. So I went down there about a month ago, and I was on my way down to the LSU game, and I stopped at Pinnacle Trust and spent most of the morning. And so they showed me retirement plans for 2 different families. One that makes a ton of money, and one that makes a more modest amount of money. And in both scenarios, they had talked to the families and said, What do you want to do? When do you want to retire? When you retire, what do you plan to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to travel? Are you the type that just wants to hang out at home? Because different people are different ways. We all have different dreams. We have different goals, those sorts of things. They got all of that information, and then they came up with a incredibly specific plan. So what they give you, in addition to a plan, is they give you peace. You say, okay, well, if I do this, assuming these things stay the same, and this is how I spend, I can retire at this date and live comfortably for 30 years or however long you're intending to stay around. And they had plans that carried these people well into their 90s. It was remarkable. So get in touch with them, pintrust.com, PINNtrust.com. Let them put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan for you. Mention that you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast. You'll get 10% off your first year's fee. Podcast is also brought to you by Dead Soxy. We'll be taping a soft verbal podcast presented by Dead Soxy tomorrow. Go to deadsoxy.com, DEADSOXY.com. And it's a beautiful website. You'll see the product. It's fantastic. They've got a great variety of products, from long dress socks to the short no-show dress socks. See if there's no risk here. They're made from bamboo. They're premium socks that stay up. See if they stay on. See if they stay soft. See if they're the best dress sock you've ever worn. Go to deadsoxy.com. Enter promo code Rebel Grove at checkout. You'll get 25% off. And if you don't love them, tell Dead Soxy you didn't love them. They'll refund your money and you'll keep the socks. It's really that simple. Deadsoxy.com. It's a fantastic product. Chase has used it. Has worn them. I've worn them for months. I've got a pair on actually right now. They're great. I love them. It's the only dress sock I'll wear. So give them a chance. Deadsoxy.com. Enter promo code Rebel Grove at checkout and get 25% off your order.
A little bit of news. Speaking of Olympic sports and everything, Braden Thornberry, Ole Miss NCAA golf champion, he is starting the process of trying to get his Web.com tour card today. The Web.com is obviously the AAA of golf, if you will, prior to the PGA Tour, is they take 25 or 50 players to the PGA Tour every year, depending on how you want to look at the process. Braden got an exemption through until the second stage of qualifying, so the second stage starts today. It is a 4-day process. He is at Southern Hills Plantation in Brooksville, Florida. If he gets out of the second stage, he's guaranteed at least, temporary status or partial status on the Web.com tour, and then he has a chance to go to the finals in Chandler, Arizona, and get his complete tour card. If he qualifies for any of this, he will turn professional. He will forfeit his final semester of eligibility at Ole Miss. If he doesn't qualify, he is at the tournament as an amateur, so he can return to Ole Miss for his final semester. So what his next move is depends on how he does here in Plantation, Florida, or Brooksville, Florida, wherever I said he was. I may have been wrong. It might be Plantation Preserve, but either way, one of the Florida courses for the second stage of web qualifying this morning. So just a little news there, if you will. But good luck to him. Good dude, and he's going to have a professional career. He can just make it a whole lot easier by having a good 4 days right here in Florida.
Hey, I'm working on Neil's picks this week.
Okay.
You did pretty well last week. Jeffrey went 6-5 overall, 6-5 against the spread. I went 9-2, but 4-7. You went 7-4, but 6-5.
I was so hot early, and I just fell apart late. I'm really annoyed.
Yeah. Corey went 8-5, 5-6. So you and Jeffrey gained a game on Corey and 2 games on Barrett and myself. So you're in sole possession of first place. I'm looking at the games this week. We have 7 SEC games, and I'm going to throw some more in.
I'm shocked, really. Blown away.
Got a lot of games that I'm considering. A couple of games on Sunday I'm thinking about.
I have a hunch Saints-Bengals is going to make that list.
It could. It could. I don't want to commit to anything right now. There's a lot of research to be done. But
I'm going to be picking freaking Saints games the rest of the year, aren't I?
there's a certain psychology that was put into play last week. It was effective. Now
it counts on the Saints winning games and covering to be effective, however.
Well, obviously, there's a complication at times that could kick in, but it does force you into an uncomfortable moment.
I mean, if the Bengals rout the Saints Sunday, you're not going to pick a game up.
No, that's true. I'm not convinced that the Bengals can rout the Saints on Sunday.
It's at Paul Brown Stadium. It is not in New Orleans.
Yes, I'm aware. I've researched a little of it.
That would be you picking against your boy Andy Dalton too.
Yeah, and Andy's a good regular season quarterback. As regular season quarterbacks go, he's above average, frankly. He's not as good in January, but he's okay in the regular season. And the Bengals are okay. The Saints are better than okay. Drew Brees is better than Andy Dalton, I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, there's plenty of time to go. There are 7 weeks, but if the playoffs started today, they don't. In the NFC, the Rams would get the 1 seed because they have a half game lead on the Saints. They're 8-1. The Saints are 7-1. Those two teams would get the byes, and then your first round playoff games would be the Chicago Bears hosting the Minnesota Vikings. And
Bear down.
Yes, and then the Washington Redskins hosting the Carolina Panthers in the NFC.
Yeah, well, that would be. I'd watch both of those games.
Yeah, that would be good. And then you would have potentially, if the Vikings won, obviously they would go to the Rams, and then you would have at least the possibility of Panthers, Redskins, or Bears going to New Orleans for round 2.
Yeah.
Then
Panthers, Bears, Redskins. Oh my! Isn't that how it goes?
Yeah, something like that. Then in the AFC, the Chiefs and the Patriots would get the 2 byes. And then the Steelers would host the Cincinnati Bengals, speaking of, and the Houston Texans would host the LA Chargers in the other game.
Huh.
So that's where it was. Chargers at 6-2 and have to play a road wild card game right now.
Wow.
I mean, very similar to the Panthers. They're playing well. They're just in the wrong division.
Yeah, they're good. Chargers are good. They were my pick to go to the Super Bowl.
They were Mike Matillier's pick to go to the Super Bowl, so they became Neal McCready's pick to go to the Super Bowl.
You know, you and all of the little details. Yeah, Saints Bengals just made the picks.
Did it?
Yep.
It is who dat versus who day for Sunday.
Because I know you will not pick New Orleans to win.
You'll don't think so?
You'll pick Cincinnati to win big. Because I know you, if you pick New Orleans to win and then they lose, you'll kick yourself. So
I'll be annoyed because I lose both ways.
Well, and you'll start thinking that you jinxed it.
Because you
picked the Rams to win by 88 points.
I did.
Yeah.
They did not win by 88 points.
They did not.
Would you like the spread real quick early?
Yeah.
New Orleans is a 5-point favorite at Cincinnati on Sunday.
Yeah, let's see it.
Well, see, all I need then is a Saints win by 3.
Yeah, there's more of a path for you to be ultimately happy.
That's in the middle, all good.
Yeah.
It opened at 4.5. It's sitting at 5 right now.
A couple other contests on Sunday that
Who are you looking at?
Well, you'll see.
Well, I mean, are they NFL games or are they something else?
Look, man.
Are we picking horse racing on Sunday?
No.
Okay. Midget wrestling?
Not yet.
Figure skating?
I don't even know how you would bet figure skating.
Swimming?
I don't know how you'd bet swimming.
Okay. Dog races over in West Memphis?
It's possible down the road.
Okay.
Probably not this week.
Okay. Fair enough. Canadian football?
It's certainly conceivable.
Okay. Good enough. Jeremiah Masoli still playing?
I think so.
Is he?
By the way, I'm looking forward to watching Mike Leach, his press conference yesterday. He got into his thoughts on live mascots.
Saw that. He likes Ralphie.
Ralphie is a great mascot.
It's hard to not like Ralphie.
I mean, I don't know how one could not like Ralphie.
Yeah.
When Texas brought Bevo to Oxford,
You got your photo with Bevo.
Yeah, he was impressive.
He just has big horns.
He's a big boy.
Thanks.
With big horns.
Yeah. Shocked.
I'm for Ole Miss just getting a big shark.
So now you want him to have a fluffy shark and a real shark.
Yep. All in.
Where are they putting the shark?
I don't know. The Marlins had that deal behind home plate with all the fish. Put an aquarium of some sort in Vaught Hemingway and put a shark in there.
It's a shark.
Yeah.
You can't put a shark into that small of an environment, I don't think.
You can build a big aquarium.
Well, I guess that's true. They're at like all the aquariums in like the cities and stuff, the aquariums.
You could raise one of the end zones and put it on top of the aquarium.
Well, that's new. Kind of like the mausoleum that's at Georgia for all the dead Uggas over in the corner.
And when that shark dies, you can bury it.
Okay. You into a burial at sea for the shark?
I guess you could.
Okay.
Ole Miss has a really good media department. Like those people, they do really good work.
They do.
Like Seth Austin and some of those people, they could go out and film it. The burial at sea of Tony One.
Okay. Rams are 10-point favorites over Seattle at home too, by the way.
And like who does Ole Miss open up with next year at home? Arkansas?
Yes.
Yeah. You could feed a live pig to the shark right before the game. That'd be intimidating as hell.
So it's a much more gruesome version of when Mike the Tiger gets to eat the raw meat in the shape of the mascot or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, announce your presence with authority.
You want to sacrifice a live boar before the game next year?
Tell me you wouldn't want.
I'm in. Be a little disturbing, but sure.
Who's the rest of the schedule at home next year? Now I'm going to tell you this. When you play Auburn at home, you can't sacrifice a tiger. You'd have to come up with something different.
A war eagle.
Yeah, I think that's probably they're probably protected.
It's not a plainsman. What's a plainsman? A person?
But you could take a plainsman.
Yeah.
Throw him in there.
Okay.
See what happens.
Fair enough. All right, this is devolving quickly, so we will move on with our day. Appreciate all of you. Check rebelgrove.com. A lot of recruiting up this morning, several different stories. Russell was loading during this podcast. Jerry and Ely story up as well. We'll have some football stuff and more coming your way at rebelgrove.com. And we'll talk to you tomorrow.